Welcome to Survivor Michigan, the online summer games recap. So this is going to be about Survivor Michigan 2.5 and Survivor Michigan 4.5. These are summer seasons that were all online, so they're kind of like online reality games of just Survivor Michigan people. And they happened. 2.5 took place between seasons 2 and 3 in that summer, and 4.5 took place between seasons 4 and 5. And then I'll let Nick and Katie introduce themselves and explain, what their role in all of this was. And then we'll sort of get into the game of Survivor Michigan 2.5, the best season you've never heard of.
Yeah, so I'm Nick. Obviously, I've played season 2 and All Stars. But my role in this was to be the host essentially. I grew up playing a bunch of online reality games. So after season 2, I kind of just wanted my friends to get involved. So I created and hosted online games over the summer, and it was essentially just like the normal Survivor, but instead of voting at tribal council, you just send me your vote through a text message and I read it at the end. And instead of like immunity challenges in real life, you did silly little things online, so everyone could play from all over the world. And that was my role here.
And hi, everyone. I've been on a few of these podcasts before. Katie, Leia's roommate during season 1, friends with Leia and Cooper, producer for season 2 and on, the whole shebang. Obviously, I did not play season 1 or season 2, but I wanted to play with some of my friends. So when Nick suggested doing this, I was more than excited to. I was just living in Ann Arbor at the time, living by myself because Leia was gone. So it gave me something to do while I was living there and working. Yeah.
So I know very, very little about either of these because I did not participate in them and didn't really know much about them. I'm trying to even remember if I even knew these were happening. I honestly don't think I really did at the time.
I know because at least like Cooper and I, who you probably would have heard it from, like Cooper was in Grand Rapids this summer. And
I would have been at camp this entire summer, summer of 2.5.
Yeah, so there was no way we would have.
So yeah, I was my phone was not even being used. I probably had no idea that people were playing online Survivor. I would be like, why are we doing that? Let's go run around and play. Let's go throw some frisbees around and stuff.
This was also during the time you didn't even care about Survivor, I don't think.
Yeah,
you were
that's true.
Technically the editor, but you had not watched anything.
I had done. When 4.5 was going on, I was editing season 2. But when 2.5 was going on, I couldn't have told you a single thing that was going on in Survivor, honestly. I was kind of friends with some of the season 2 people, but not nearly as good friends as you and Cooper were at that time.
Well, and that's what I was gonna say. This summer game is definitely what kind of helped us or forced us to become so much closer with season 2 people, because season 2 had just wrapped. And I want to say, I know we'll go through the full cast in a second, but Bree, Maggie, and Sam and Sarah Gallagher and Matthew Israel were all still living in Ann Arbor that summer. So I think the fact that all of us were in the same city for once after just meeting each other and getting to know each other and playing a game together like this gave us a reason to hang out outside of anything else and get a chance to know each other too, which was one of the reasons I wanted to play with this. But it definitely led to some fun gameplay and some interesting dynamics, I will say.
All right, well, Nick, take it away. Just introduce us to the wonderful world of 2.5. Also, was it called 2.5 from the get-go, or was it called something else? And then colloquially it became referred to as 2.5.
So I called it Survivor Michigan Online. I was like, simple, easy, good. But then everyone else just colloquially called it 2.5, and eventually that just caught on. It caught on so easily that it was I could not fight against it in any kind of capacity. And all of my charts and things that I have on my Google Drive all said Survivor Michigan Online, and at some point I've had to add 2.5 places because now even I use 2.5 everywhere. So whenever I search it, I'm I can't find it because it's not 2.5 right away. But yeah, so that's where it started. Oh, I need access to screen sharing. Yeah.
Oh shit. Sorry about that.
You're good.
It's kind of a dumb thing. They should just have that be like automatic. All right. You
Yeah.
should be good to go.
All right. We'll share this screen. All right. So I want to start off with, here's the cast. You'll see a lot of familiar faces. But any of the squares that are like colors with a name are people from online games that I've played with before. They're not affiliated with Survivor Michigan at all. They're just people I played with before. Because this was only season 1 and season 2 people, we didn't really have enough to make like a full-blown cast, so I just padded it in with friends that I knew. And not only did I pad it in with friends that I knew, but I also padded in with my mom. Right here, she also played this season.
Harry.
So that's that. But we have Bree, Brittany, my mom, Carrie, Cooper, someone named Daniel, someone named Devin, someone named Drew. We have Jack, someone named John. We have Katie. We have someone named Kevin. This is not season 2 Kevin. This is just a different online Kevin. Then we have Liz, Maggie, Matthew, Sam, and Sarah Gallagher.
What a cast. What a cast. So many stars in this cast. Wow.
It was amazing. It was amazing just to get this many people. Like, I was nervous we weren't going to get like any, to be honest, but the fact that we were able to get like pretty much half the cast of all stars, fantastic. So usually this game starts by like just splitting up into tribes, and I did do that, but I actively left a few of the people I cast off of this list because the first couple of votes were really just people who were like, I added into the game, but like did not actually play. So we actually do have a couple of tribes, but the first few votes are just people who like go right away, who are just online people. Literally, I think one of them I just kicked out because they literally stopped responding to my messages. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess you don't want to play. But eventually we get
Oh, wait, so there was even more people than this?
Yeah. I think we had a cast of 20.
Interesting. But no one I would know.
Yeah, anyone would know. So
Because they were all online people. Wait, Nick, the way the tribes were split up, though, I should remember this. Was it online on one tribe and Michigan on the Survivor Michigan on the other tribe?
No, I honestly should have done that, but I think it was split up where there was like 5 online people and 5 Michigan people per tribe. So there was a bit of a split, and I think the most notable parts about this early game stuff was just that we were doing a bunch of silly challenges. So one of the challenges people would do is we made music videos, and we did this like, it wasn't for immunity. I did music videos for rewards, for reward challenges, and essentially a reward would just help you get like a chance to get an idol or things like that. So people would get like idol clues or whatever. But we did wild, dumb stuff like a music video challenge in which we got videos of like Maggie and my mom and Cooper like singing. What song was it, Katie?
It was Pocket Full of Sunshine, and basically just from the player's perspective. And actually, Nick, it might be helpful if you want to tell us the people that you do have on the screen who was on which tribe for these.
Okay, yeah, I can try to do that real quick. Yeah, go ahead. You can keep explaining.
Yeah, but basically each tribe was given a song to lip sync, or we had to pick a song to lip sync, and then everyone just recorded themselves doing whatever we thought was entertaining or would get the judges to like our music video better, or more, I should say, and then edit it together. So my tribe was, we sang All in This Together from High School Musical. And I know I had Bree and Sam and Sarah Gallagher on my tribe for that. And then what has become like the infamous Pocket Full of Sunshine video was Maggie's tribe, and Maggie added her creative flair to the whole thing. But there were clips that Nick was mentioning of his mom, Maggie, and Cooper all singing in the shower, and like
Not together, to be clear.
Not together. No.
I'll say this. This, to my understanding, this video is very much not safe for work, right?
Not safe for work. I mean, I would clarify, Nick's mom and Cooper are very much neck up. Maggie, on the other hand, did her post-edit magic and covered herself up, but definitely it was a showstopper, and it was all integrated with a
show-stopping number, so to speak, a real showstopper.
Show-stopping number. It was all integrated with the clip from the movie Easy A, and kind of like taking inspiration from that clip where Emma Stone sings in the shower singing Pocket Full of Sunshine.
So I'm going to assume that your tribe lost to the Pocket Full of Sunshine tribe.
Yeah. And understandably, I know I edited it, our tribe's video, and I thought we did a good job, but after seeing the amount of effort, and I do know Cooper was like refusing to really send in anything. He like sent in a video of him winking, but then Maggie really manipulated him pretty easily and was like, Cooper, everyone else literally sent me these types of videos. Like Matthew did it, Jack did it. Like you need to send me a video of you singing in the shower. Like you're the only one not doing it.
Even though that wasn't true at all.
Oh, not true at all. Not true at all. So Cooper believes her, sends in that video, and then they play the video for like everyone to see and judge. And Cooper's like, what the like Maggie.
Brittany heard this podcast was happening, and she texted me and was like, that video is not being included, right? I was like, no, don't worry.
No. I think it definitely became a thing for because I think Maggie and Brittany and Liz had all graduated at that point, and they were like, we're trying to get jobs. Please don't be putting this out anywhere. Thank you. So...
To be clear, Brittany did not participate in the shower singing, but she was in the video, so she just doesn't want it out there, which is, I think, fair. I don't think anyone really wants them singing in the shower out there. So it's very funny.
Yeah, so I think that helps, Nick, the way that you've laid it out here for everyone to see. Yeah. I will say too, like Nick said, after the first few votes, it was split. Before the first few votes, it was split pretty evenly. Online people that nobody really knew versus Survivor Michigan people. But you can see, yeah, like Matthew and Bree and Sam were on my tribe. And I want to say it was, I mean, a pretty unspoken thing going into the game that, oh, we're not going to know some of these people. We might as well just stay Michigan strong. But we've got like pretty social people in this game. You know, we're not dumb players either. We're going to try to make some relationships with these other online people. I know Drew was on my first tribe. Drew and I talked a decent amount. And yeah, I don't know, Nick, if there's anything else you want to clarify for the first few votes or anything else.
No, I think that does make sense. These votes were here, or these tribes were here for a while. I think there was a tribe swap at some point, but it was just like the first few people really, I don't know how I just picked a really bad like group of online people originally, and I don't mean all of them. The people on this list are fine, but the first few people literally just were not active for whatever reason. So they just kind of went away. But I do think it is a good point to make that a lot of people came into this game, at least Survivor Michigan people came into this game being like, well, we know each other, like we'll stick together, like Survivor Michigan strong. That was the mindset. That was like the theme very, very early on. Eventually though, around like the third or fourth vote, Liz unfortunately had to drop out. She got too busy and could not handle it. So from this list, Liz ended up being the first person eliminated.
What week was that, technically?
On this chart it says technically it was week 5. So there was like a couple like tribes at this point. Like we had the original tribes and then one tribe swap, but again, it was just unanimous votes about online people. So I figure we'll just get past that real quick because it wasn't like that hard for people to make that connection.
Dude, imagine if if we released a Survivor Michigan season where Liz was the first boot, like people's brains would like explode and like they would be like a whole mess.
I will say, I think like of the Survivor Michigan people, Liz was probably the least responsive. And then eventually, just like, like some of the seniors who had graduated already and were like off doing their own thing, who still wanted to be involved and everything. I think that's definitely like, even the online people, that's a lot of the reason that some of the earlier votes happens that way. And a lot of real strategy and like backstabbing, turning on each other. It didn't happen till later, but
technically no one voted Liz. She was just busy and was like, hey, I'm gonna drop out.
Right.
But during these votes we do start seeing some alliances kind of build. Again, there are no like split votes or anything at that point, so kind of a ways to really say who's fully with who, but I can give you guys a little rundown of where people are seeming to look. So we get a very quick alliance, and I think this was probably a pregame alliance that was between Jack, Maggie, and Sam.
Oh, shocker.
I mean, naturally.
Jack, Maggie, and Sam working together. I could not have predicted this.
So these three easily come together, and they're close. I think Cooper and Katie, you guys are great friends, so you guys kind of come in already like as a duo.
Yeah, and I would say,
go ahead.
Also, like pre-gaming wise, or what, like first weeks, Jack and I are from the same hometown. Sam and Cooper are also both from Grand Rapids. So we attempted a like hometown alliance, the four of us. Of course, there's some mixture of like Maggie, Sam, and I, Cooper, Maggie, Sam, like stuff like that. It's all pretty intermingled, but I would say that's pretty accurate in terms of like solid alliances going into it.
I think, I agree with that. It is all, even with me writing it out or like showing it, it is very intermixed. So just know that like a lot of these people are just kind of communicating. But I think Brittany and Sarah get pretty close. I think they were already pretty close at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew kind of gets close with, I think, Cooper, Sam. He's also kind of in with Brittany at this point, so I'm gonna move it like this. I think Katie, you were like more along the lines with the girls down here, and then I would say Bree was probably closer to like season 2, but also kind of like with Matt and kind of with Cooper. So I'm gonna put it like roughly here. And then my mom was kind of close with just the girls, so I'm gonna just put her over here. And I'll actually go into a little bit of detail here. So at this point, because I said Survivor Michigan Strong was the theme coming into it, a lot of people were like only barely talking to online people. Cooper especially, like, was not. He came into this and was like, no, we are Survivor Michigan. We will stay strong. We don't even need these people. He was like, I won't even add some of these people. Like, genuinely would not like add them or talk to them. He just completely
like actively ignored these people.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was the thing you guys called them?
I remember Maggie bringing this name in for the first time that I ever saw it, but Zwoopers. Like Zwooper.
What's this like? Yeah, because this is what I've always heard was like the only thing I really knew about 2.5 was that Cooper like bullied the Zwoopers. And I was always like, what is a Zwooper? Like, what is this? Like, what are we talking about?
I used to play on a website called Zwooper.com, and that's where all of like the Survivor, or that's where I got to play all my orgs. It is now shut down at this point. It did not have a lot of funding, and it was a messy site anyways, so it's probably a good thing it's shut down. But that is where I met a lot of these people, and so they just all got considered Zwoopers at this point.
So
That's a weird name to say.
That's what was funny about it, I feel like.
That is like how they were referred. Like now I feel like we just call them like the online people, but like in the game it was very actively calling them, oh yeah, the Zwoopers.
I think we need to refer to them as the Zwoopers during this. Like, unless, would it consider the derogatory term? You know?
I mean, I don't think they would.
I don't know. At this point, I hope they don't take it that way.
I feel like that gives you a better sense of like the way in which this was going down.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, so Cooper is icing them out. Sam, on the other hand, I think most other people on the other hand were like actively trying to talk to most of them. Cooper was icing them out. The rest were like kind of talking. I know Sarah and Daniel started talking and getting kind of close. I know Brittany and Drew also got kind of close because they lived actually close to each other. Drew lived in Michigan, so they've actually met each other before because they went to library. I think they went to the same library or some shit. I don't know.
Drew was like working at a library and they planned to meet up. And that's they met up in person, basically.
So they met in person. Yeah. Kevin starts talking, I think, with like Sam and Maggie a decent amount. Devin's kind of just talking to everyone except for Cooper. And then I think John is also just kind of like talking a little bit to Sarah and Brittany, but also to Sam. And I don't know who you were really talking to, Katie, but I think those are the
I was closest with Drew.
Yeah, that would make sense. So like this is kind of where things were, even though that's not a very gross looking map.
So when does like the first real vote happen?
Well, wait, real quick, Nick, how do you want to talk about idols?
Oh shit, I should also say that. How do I get? Can I get a little symbol? Where is the little symbol? This is your idol.
Okay.
How do I make it?
Okay, it kind of looks like
it is a veto. Do you want me to?
Oh, it's the veto. Yeah, it's veto.
Do you want me to make it something different?
I mean, it just kind of looks like if you're putting it next to someone's face that they're like getting voted out. But
okay.
Or it could be canceling the votes. You know.
That's true. That's true. And don't worry about it.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Let's just say this is an idol.
Okay,
Nick, it's good.
I was looking at the other symbols. Anyways,
so can I talk about your idol process though? Because it was actually one of my favorite things of this game in general.
Yeah, we can.
Like, okay, for those who don't know, Nick created this insane like scavenger hunt.
Oh, this is the origin of the Nick Helton like internet quest thing.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Like basically a choose your own adventure where everyone starts out on the same like blog post thing, and you're on an island and it's like choose your path, and then there's so many different links depending on what path that you choose, and each direction you go there's like a mini flash game or a puzzle or like a Where's Waldo type game online that you have to complete and then send a screenshot in your online confessional chat with Nick, and then you can move forward to the next part. So like I enjoyed this immensely. I think this is like one of my favorite parts about it because I could just sit and play flash games like all day and try to get past different levels. Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to talk about that because I felt very strongly about it.
Yeah. It was a fun adventure, but essentially it just allowed people to like search by like playing flash games and looking around a fake island that I created for idols. And in the first tribes, the people who end up getting idols are Maggie and Katie.
Yeah. So these were super fun. I was extremely proud of myself, this being my first Survivor game ever being played. And I think I found this within the first week too.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I'm curious to find out if you play it correctly or if you botch it in some way. So
we shall see.
But the first vote ends up being a vote where we actually merge for one round. And I tell everyone this. I say, hey, at 15 people, we are merging, but you guys will be split into tribes immediately after. And so everyone can get one vote. I think there was a group of people that were safe. So let me figure out who was safe. It looks like it was I think they played in little like groups of 5 for immunity. So the people who won immunity were Devin, Kevin, Maggie, Bree, and John. So these were the people who were safe. Bree. And then the rest of the people were up for or could be voted out. And it was, again, everyone voting because it was a one-round merge. And so I think going into this, people were like, oh, we'll be Michigan strong. But Sam was like with Maggie and Jack and like was trying to talk to Matthew at some point. And I think Matthew threw out the concept of like, hey, like the boys can be like meat shields, or like just jokingly said that. And so Sam told Maggie, and it became a huge deal. Katie, do you want to explain it?
I will gladly get into this because this is when the game got interesting. And so, like I said earlier, some of us were all in Ann Arbor together and living relatively close. And it became like under the guise of that we were going to teach Bree how to play Catan. Bree, Maggie, and I meet up in person at Maggie's house on her front porch. And we're talking and we're, trying to suss each other out because like, obviously we're Michigan strong, but the three of us, I don't think had really gotten real about the game yet. And it comes out, Maggie's telling us about this meat shield comment. And we're all just like, whatever, boys, like get over yourselves. That's so gross. Of course, the guys are going to like stick together. Matthew, Sam, Cooper, Jack, they probably think they're all that. And it basically turned into this, like the three of us wanting to humble them a little bit and knock them down a peg. And Maggie and I then eventually tell each other about our idols. And we realize each of us have our idols. And we both tell each other that we both told Cooper. And so then we realized
why did you guys both tell Cooper you had idols?
I don't know why Maggie told Cooper, but like for me, Cooper was my number one. I was just too excited. I was like too excited. You know me, I can't keep a secret. I was so proud of myself. I just had to tell somebody.
All right. We're already into some bad gameplay right off the bat here, but all right.
No.
All right. Everyone's telling Cooper too much, but okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, and then that's when Maggie and I and Bree were all just like, okay, well, Cooper knows too much, and this is an issue. And then we start talking about the other connections we have and the connections that we have with the Zwoopers. And I was saying how I was pretty close with Drew. I felt like they all at this point also got kind of the sense of, okay, Michigan are going to go Michigan strong. We'll take whatever we can get type situation. So I was like, I feel pretty close with Drew. I'm sure I could talk to Drew. We were like, if we're going against the guys, I'm sure Sarah and Brittany would be in on this, especially if we're talking about knocking down Cooper or Matthew a peg. They would 100% get behind that. And I think between both Bree and Maggie, some combination of like Kevin, Devin, John, Daniel, whoever, we were like, oh, we could easily have the numbers to blindside one of the 4 of these boys. And then it just kind of like came down to who we really felt like would make the most impact, or just like without cutting off one of our people. Like Maggie didn't want to get rid of Sam, obviously, because her and Sam were super close. I don't think Bree or I really wanted to get rid of Cooper, and we were like, even though, I mean, hindsight's 2020, I'm like, well, Cooper knew about both of our idols. Maybe we should have gotten rid of Cooper. But I don't know if we want to say exactly who we went after, but the blindside was successful. I will say that.
So yeah, so it does essentially become this like girls and Zwoopers versus the guys for this vote because they're all mad about this meat shield comment and realizing that like they can just say something, they can do something about it. And so like you said, Maggie was telling me you guys literally created and sent a story of you guys with a Catan setup like you were playing, but we're not actually playing at all.
I will say, like, we did have an intention of playing at some point, but then of course once we got there and wine was pouring, like drinks were being had, gossip was being spilled, but of course Maggie's creative mind was like, oh well, obviously we have to like show them on social media and then they'll believe us. And so she was like, oh, Catan board on her like Snapchat story or whatever and went all in on trying to blindside these people.
Well, yes, it does end up working. We get it looks like I'll do the minority votes first. It looks like Cooper voted my mom, Sam voted my mom, Matthew voted Drew. I don't know why. Jack voted my mom. And then who else?
So these guys were planning to take out your mom because she's not Michigan. Obviously.
Yeah, exactly. She wasn't part of the Michigan group, so they were all planning to take her out. They just wanted her to leave. So I think it ended up looking like this, and then everyone else, not including Devin, everyone else got together and decided to vote out one of the boys. Why is it doing this? There we go. Or not.
I think people get who you're trying to.
Okay, well, we gave it a shot. But they all decided to choose one of the boys, and the person they all agreed on was Jack. So Jack leaves here in
wow.
a 10-4-1 vote.
You guys, so did Matthew Israel think that it was a split vote on your mom and Daniel or whatever?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what it was. But I'm not entirely
sure. How shook were Cooper, Sam, and Matthew when this happened?
Oh, so shook. I remember Cooper coming over to my house or wherever we met up, and he was like, what the hell? Or I called him, and I was just like, yeah, that's what you get for not telling me about like Maggie's idol, or like that's what you get for not telling me. Like I was on my high horse and I was like, you lied to me about different things. No, like if I'm your number one, you're my number one and you have to be telling me everything. So this is what happens. You get blindsided. I'm sorry.
They had no idea it was coming. It was like they had absolutely no clue. They didn't know until after Jack was out of the game that this happened. Like
I love this. I'm just imagining Sam, Cooper, and Matthew all just like panicking, like freaking out.
Yes, that's exactly what it felt like.
That's great. I'm sure all the Zwoopers also were super excited to be in on the plan that didn't involve one of them going home.
Well, this is also like I don't know how much the Zoopers were excited, but I know my mom specifically. I was with her when all of this was happening, and she was really excited about it because this is also when she met up with Katie, Bree, and Maggie at some point. I think
not yet.
Not yet. Okay,
no, not yet. But we do eventually meet up with Carrie in person. Yeah,
I do think you guys were planning it.
It does seem like there is some level of unfairness to who can meet up in person and who can't in this game.
You're not wrong. There definitely is. But you live, you learn. There's only so much you can do.
So now Cooper, Sam, and Matthew are on the ropes. They're freaking out. What's happening now?
Completely blindsided. And then everyone gets split into new tribes. And so these are what the new tribes end up looking like. Oh, that's how we could have done it. Oh, I guess it does not like me doing that. That's so weird. But these are what the new tribes end up looking like. We get a lot of online people on one tribe, and then a lot of the people who were just blindsided on the other tribe.
Interesting. This looks juicy. Oh, so literally all the Michigan people were on one tribe and your mom, basically. Like,
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. It ends up being a lot of Zwoopers versus Survivor Michigan. And
interesting.
This is what happens. And
Yeah.
so at the next vote, the tribe on the left loses. And so we have Matthew, Sam, and Cooper who were all blindsided, and then all of the girls who pretty much just work together.
So are these guys? So are Matthew, Cooper, and Sam just legit panicking at this point?
Oh, they are certain they're out next. There is no hiding it. They just all got blindsided. All of the girls are like on their high horse. They're like shoving it in their face that they blindsided.
Yeah, it was a really great feeling. I can't lie.
Like everyone was so excited that all of these men who thought they were like the meat shields, and I think it was just a passing comment. I don't think they really all were like in their face about it, but it was just like a passing comment, and all of the girls were like, haha, meat shields my ass, like fuck you guys. They were living for it. But Sam, Matthew, and Cooper are like freaking out. And I'll actually move my mom over here because this is kind of where alliances look at this point. Like, while these three are blindsided, they're like talking to their like number ones or number twos or whatever.
I got you.
Oh my God, I trusted you so and like doing all of the work to like guilt trip the fuck out of them. And it actually ends up working. Cooper, I don't know who was like the best at guilt tripping, but the girls end up getting really upset. I do think Bree probably feels the most bad. Brittany probably feels pretty bad. I think I read a confessional where Maggie was like, I was just kind of outvoted, but I guess I feel a little bad. Like,
yeah.
I can fully believe Maggie felt the least bad.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Actually, now looking at it, it is very interesting. Yeah, because like I remember Bree feeling very bad. I mean,
this is during the era where Bree had a slight little crush on Cooper.
That's hilarious. I can't believe that, honestly. I had no idea Bree had a crush on Cooper. That seems so like, I mean,
it was under wraps. I don't even think I knew about this at the time. I think I slowly learned about it, but
yeah, I don't think anyone really knew. Like, it was kind of like an after the fact.
It's
like
that I'm the host power dynamic with Cooper, all the Survivor girls.
What I was gonna say though, like seeing Brittany and Bree over there, I think it would be a really interesting contrast if it ended up being Sarah and me over there.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think you guys would care.
I feel like Sarah does not. Bad. You cannot successfully guilt trip Sarah or Katie. I feel like in this regard.
No.
Sarah does not go a fuck. No. But yeah, it does end up they guilt trip Brittany and Bree, and then they all decide to go Michigan strong once more and vote for my mom.
And this
brutal.
I know.
And it was this week that this is when we met up with your mom in person, Nick, because I remember the whole thing was, wow, we really went all out of this way. This was Maggie, Bree, and I who met up with Carrie in downtown Ann Arbor. We really went out of our way to like meet up with her in person to make sure she felt good, knowing that she was going to go home.
Yeah, I think when you guys were meeting up, it was like, oh, we just made this big girls move. We are going to do a girls alliance. Like, we will do this. And then they all felt bad, like very quickly.
Who did your mom vote for?
My mom ended up voting for Matthew there.
Gotcha. Okay. Katie, do you think there's a scenario where you guys could have agreed on one of Cooper, Sam, or Matthew to vote out there? Or where those girls could have, where Maggie, Brittany, and Bree can agree on one of the guys?
Because even though all of us were able to get behind Jack was the only name that we could get behind because each of us were so tight with one of the other.
Yeah. Brittany's not going to vote off Matthew. I guess Bree's now in love with Cooper, so she's not going to vote off Cooper.
Well, and I wasn't going to vote off Cooper. Like, I was still like trying to work with him, and Maggie was definitely not going to vote out Sam.
Was Sarah as much on her like get rid of Cooper revenge tour shtick in this season as she was in All Stars, or like not as much? Because this would have been closer in time to season 1.
I think she kind of was, but it was more so just like an afterthought. It was more so like I'm gonna be wary of Cooper because Cooper is a snake, but like it wasn't constantly target Cooper. Like I think her and Cooper were still getting along at this point and talking pretty well. So
Okay.
And this also gave Sarah and I a really good opportunity to get to know all the Zwoopers here.
Yeah.
And I think that comes into play later, but Sarah did get close with some of the Zwoopers, I think. Yeah.
This is where the next vote, the tribe on the left wins immunity. So you guys, the Zwoopers and you and Sarah, end up losing. And I don't exactly know what happens here, but I do think this is where like you and Sarah were already kind of close, but you guys form a better bond, I think, around this time. And I know you guys are kind of talking with Drew. Sarah gets really close with Daniel at this point. I don't know how you guys feel about John or Kevin. I don't really know what happened with this vote. Do you know much?
I couldn't tell you. I feel pretty confident that it was just kind of like, all right, Sarah, who do we feel most comfortable with and who do we want to work with because I think we also were able to spend enough time, like me talking with Drew and Sarah talking with Daniel. I think Kevin was in that mix too.
Yeah.
And I also want to say John and Devin were also probably the least responsive or like least that I honestly I think it really just came down to like Sarah and I using our relationships with the few Zwoopers that we had already been talking to and just trying to form a majority for that vote. Kind of thing.
So I do think the Zwoopers come in here. I think they have an alliance or a chat amongst themselves where they're like, oh, we're going to stay super strong. But if you noticed a couple votes back when they voted out Jack, Devin wasn't in on the Jack vote. Devin voted out my mom at that point. And so he was kind of close. I don't know if he was close, but he was talking more so with like Matthew and Sam, and it wasn't as involved. So I think I think Sarah and Katie do a really good job here of like convincing the Zooper people that like they're all gonna be fine, and they end up voting out Devin unanimously.
Wow. It feels like a bad play by the Zwoopers, but I guess we'll see what happens.
And I will say too, I know just looking back in
props to Katie and Sarah here.
Yeah.
It's that social game, baby. It matters.
So they say.
Cooper doesn't agree. Cooper still hasn't.
Has Cooper talked to a Zwooper yet at this point of the game?
That's a good question because I know at this point I remember distinctly John being like, I don't think Cooper's even added me. Like I don't think that's happened.
And I think I'll also say, just looking back at some of the different group chats that I had, Sam, John, and I were in a group chat together. Like there were kind of side alliances with more than just Sarah and I with some of these individual Zwoopers too, that kind of, I'm sure, helped sway. Like I'm sure some people like Brittany, Matthew, Sam had some sway in getting Daniel, Drew, all of them to want to keep Sarah and I too.
Yeah, especially because like Kevin at this point I know was getting close with Sam and Maggie.
Yeah.
I know. So
Kevin and Maggie. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so this happens. We're down to our final 12 and we merge.
Officially.
Officially. This is the real merge, not the fake merge. This is the real one. At this point, I think alliances are kind of still roughly where I said they were before, where like we have these duos. Katie's close with Cooper, but I think Katie's also close with Sarah, and I will put like Brittany down here. I know Kevin's like with these guys kind of. I think John and Daniel are like down here next to Sarah. I think Drew's
more like Brittany, Matthew, me.
Yeah, he's over here as well. And then this is your idol. Yes, I think that is it. That's roughly what the alliances kind of look like. The people close to each other are closest to each other, or like trust each other the most, kind of vibe.
This is the week that it got insane.
Yes, this is a week that I am still a bit lost, to be honest. I was looking at it earlier today, but this is what I have heard and looked at earlier today. So we go into this week, and I think people are, or I think Cooper is still like, oh, we got to stay Michigan strong. And everyone's going with it. Everyone's just like, oh, yeah, we definitely have to be Michigan strong. Of course we do. And so I think Cooper at some point throws out John's name because I think John is the least connected out of probably all of them. And so Cooper starts by being like, oh, let's vote out John and see what happens. And most people agree. I know Cooper agrees, Matthew agrees, and like I think everyone just kind of is like, okay, that's cool. We'll do John. However,
who won immunity?
oh yeah, who won immunity? That is a good point. At this point, it was Matthew won immunity, so Matthew is safe for this vote. Can I?
Which I guess is kind of
that does not come out
important.
Okay, so Matthew's safe.
Yeah,
Matthew is safe. Yeah.
So Matthew is safe. And then this is kind of where the votes end up, or not. Sorry,
I can.
Yeah, go ahead. Do you want to?
No, I was gonna say if the next thing you were gonna say is votes, I can provide some commentary, but go ahead and say what.
Oh no, I think I got it. I just got confused after doing.
Okay.
But yeah, so Cooper throws out John. That's just kind of the consensus for the Survivor Michigan people. It's like the easy vote, but the easy vote isn't always easy.
It's never the easy vote.
So Sam comes into this week and he's like, you know what? Like, why don't we just make a move and like vote out Katie?
Why?
And so Sam apparently targets Katie, but Sam is close with Cooper. And so Sam's like, Cooper, why don't we like maybe do this vote? Like, don't tell Katie, obviously, but like maybe we can vote out Katie. And Cooper's like, oh yeah, I'm not close with Katie at all. But then immediately goes and tells Katie, of course.
Why would Sam pitch this to Cooper? That seems so stupid.
I don't know. Sam was apparently misled into believing that Katie and Cooper were not a duo.
That seems
Sam might have been the.
I will say
one.
no.
That seems like that seems so bad on Sam's. Sam.
Hold on.
So bad on Sam.
To provide some, because now that you say that, I do remember Cooper and I going into this game. Like our game plan was like we need to downplay our relationship as much as possible. Obviously, people know we're close, but like I will vote you out. I will be telling people that I will vote you out from the beginning and that I want to get you voted out. And that's also kind of like when the girls got together, that really helped to like portray that like Cooper's still mad at me from that blindside and like all of that. And I think also Sam probably overestimated his relationships a little bit, and I think everyone overestimated their relationships a little bit when it came down to this vote, because I also remember I think it was after Cooper told me this, and this was super stressful. I remember because I was working in downtown Detroit for an internship at this point, and I hear this right before I have to drive for an hour and a half back to Ann Arbor and can't be on my phone and can't be responding to messages or anything. It was so stressful. And I tried to pitch then going after Sam or going after Maggie, ideally trying to flesh out Maggie's idol and like all of this stuff. But then Maggie and I have it out with each other, and I talk to her directly, and I'm like, listen, you're coming after me. Why would I not come after you? And she's like, you know what? Let's drop it. Let's not go after each other. Let's just get on the same page again. And I'm like, okay, let's try.
Oh, so Maggie was involved in the plot on you, like with Sam? Like they were just like, let's get rid of Katie. This would be funny.
100%. Yeah. But because Maggie and I also then, it's the merge where like, we know each other has the idols, right? So then we had the same thought of like, let's try to get the other person with the idol out and stuff like that, or at least flush the idol and all of that sort of stuff. So it kind of, the way that I remember it being, it was very much like a Maggie and me type situation, and then probably Cooper and Sam a little bit on either side.
So you guys get back on the same page, and then what happens?
Yeah,
we don't get back on the I don't remember.
It's here. I have the votes, so I can kind of remember, and I don't fully know because a lot of this was happening through text that I was not involved in,
Yeah.
because I was the host. So I got a lot of this like after the fact. But it sounds like after Sam threw out Katie's name, Katie ended up throwing out Maggie's name, but then people were like also knew where the idols were. So like the names switched like a million fucking times the entire day. I have a screenshot of Maggie's like confessional, and it's literally like 20 messages of like her going like, let's vote out Katie. Not using the idol. Wait, no, I'm using the idol. No, I'm using the idol on Sam. No, I'm voting Bree. Like it's literally changes like so fast. But the general consensus near the end, it's like wild. The general consensus near the end is that people are going to vote out Maggie and hope that they can blindside her.
And if not, she plays her idol and flushes the idol.
Yes. But some people at the same time are like wanting to still vote out John. So John's on the table. And then Katie's name was still kind of out there, but very last second, I think they decided, hey, Katie also has an idol. Why don't we vote Bree? So I'll break it down to show you kind of where people end up.
Is Cooper still pushing like Michigan strong through all of this?
Cooper, this whole time, Cooper's like, I bet you, I don't know the exact details, but I bet you Cooper made like 5 or 6 group chats being like, please, Michigan strong, like consistently. Because he does that every single vote, he makes a new group chat being like, Michigan strong, like, oh, please. Like
no, literally. It would be like everyone knows that everything is blowing up, and then the first initial group chat that we made that was like titled Michigan Strong, Cooper would just be like, this question mark? No one would respond. Just like, Cooper, shut up.
Yeah, so it does end up breaking down. The vote goes like this. Sam, Kevin, Maggie, and Drew all kind of get together. Sarah, Brittany, Daniel, and John all kind of get together because Sarah's getting close with the Michigan or with the Zwoopers, specifically Daniel, and Brittany's close with her. And then you guys kind of get together, Matthew, Cooper, Bree, and Katie. And so the groups look like this. These guys are gunning after Maggie at this point. They're hoping to blindside her. These guys are voting John because I think most of them, like these 3 are mostly going for the status quo. And I think Katie, after making amends with Maggie, felt like she was good.
I'll also say, like, I knew Brittany and Sarah were going to be voting Maggie.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, I was aware of that potential plan as well.
Yeah. That makes sense. And then these guys are trying to figure out if they're voting out Bree or Katie. So then
why Bree?
Because she doesn't have an idol.
Yes, because she doesn't have an idol.
But like of anyone else, why Bree?
I think it was more so like Bree's probably connected with like Cooper and Matt. I don't really know. I think it was just like the safest vote because Bree's like semi-connected. She like kind of with the girls. It wasn't very clear to me.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's just what I know. So these 4 vote Maggie, these vote John. These guys are debating between Maggie and Katie. All the way up to the last
Bree and Katie.
Or sorry, Bree or Katie. Yes. These guys are voting Bree or Katie. So this is going all the way on to the last second of the vote. And at the last second, Maggie decides to use her idol. So Maggie negates all of these votes. These votes do not count.
Okay.
These guys are all voting John. These guys are still between Bree or Katie. What happens is some way, somehow, Maggie, I don't think wants to do Katie or wants to do Bree because they're close. And so Maggie ends up voting Katie, which makes it a 4-3-1 vote with John going home.
So it's actually 4-4. 4-4-3-1.
Yes, it's 4-4-3-1.
Wow. Because what, Maggie just basically doesn't want to vote with the plan for some reason?
I think so. I'm not entirely sure. I was trying to talk to everyone earlier today, and no one. This vote was so chaotic that not a single person in any of like the chats I made today remembered exactly what happened. Even like Maggie was like, "Yeah, I don't remember fully." But yeah, so Maggie saves herself, but also ruins her own plan of trying to get out Bree or Katie. So John ends up going home. He becomes the first member of our jury.
Tough. So Cooper got his way with the Michigan Strong this week
He really
Yeah,
does.
and
through no real
I
fault of his own, through seemingly just mostly stupidity on the parts of everyone else.
mostly just like everyone wanting to make a big move and wanting to do something. And this definitely solidified. I was like, okay, well, Maggie had the opportunity to not vote me and save someone else, but she still wanted to just write my name down. I'm not working with her anymore.
So now what happens next?
And then I thought Drew was cool, but then Drew was part of their plan too. And so it really, what happens next? I was feeling a little defeated. I know that.
So what happens next? Oh, I will also say this. Maggie used her idol at the last second because Matthew, I think, knew of both plans and he decided to save Maggie at this point. He wanted to, I think, keep the bigger targets around, and John was the Zwooper person. So he actually is the one who tips off Maggie, and Maggie uses the idol very last second. And
the lion sleeps tonight. Sneaky, sneaky.
So the next vote is supposed to be a normal vote. However, at this point, I think Brittany has something that happens in real life. And despite being one of the most like connected and socially in there people, she has to walk from the game. She is still allowed to be on jury, but she leaves the game for personal reasons.
Yeah.
Which is very upsetting because I do think she probably would have made it like final 5 or so at the least, I think, because she was with like all of the Zooper people and all of the Survivor Michigan people. I don't think she had any enemies.
So Brittany playing very well as usual. Okay, but she has to quit. That's a bummer.
Yep. So the next thing that happens is our Survivor Michigan auction, which I don't know all of the details, but essentially everyone got to like auction off or buy like random things. They were all of them were covered, but like gave little hints to what they were. I think there was one that was like, this is clearly an advantage. The rest were like, they're covered, but could be an advantage or a disadvantage. Katie ends up getting something that pretty much works as a second idol. It's not exactly a second idol, but for the purposes of keeping it simple, it was a second idol.
I have it pulled up right here, the message that you sent me once I won it. And I can read it right here.
If you want to, go for it.
So, and I would like to clarify, this was like, I don't remember if it was like the first or the last thing, but I just bet all of my money on it.
This was the one that was like, it's very clearly 100% an advantage. So a few people bet like all of their money on it, but out of those people, I just randomized who got it, and they knew that going into it.
I randomly got it, and everyone knew that I got it. Yep. And the advantage was fire making advantage. At any point before the final 4, you can use this advantage like an idol. If the person it is used on received the most votes, the ability to face off in a fire making challenge against the person of their choice, not including those immune. So you basically, whoever you use this advantage on then gets to choose someone else to face off with. So I didn't necessarily have to use it on myself. I could have used it on someone else to try and save them, and then they could compete against someone else, or put myself up against one specific person and try to like fight for my life. I could have still been out. Like it didn't necessarily guarantee safety for me, but yeah.
It was like a less powerful item. Yeah. That was the point of it. It's supposed to give you a chance to stay in, but it doesn't guarantee it.
And wait, Nick, did you announce the split before or after the auction?
I think after.
Okay.
So I'll get into that.
Okay.
What also happened is Daniel, at this point, this online person who's close to Sarah, he earned a extra vote at this tribal, or yeah, will this work? No, I don't like that. I'm just going to make a text box that says extra vote. So he ends up earning an extra vote that he can use at any tribal council. And then at some point, I don't think this was during the auction, but we did hide a new merge idol, and Daniel also found that. So despite Daniel and Sarah looking like more on the outs, Sarah's close with Katie, and they have an extra vote and an idol. Katie pretty much has 2 idols here, and I don't think Daniel's stuff is known, but Katie's is definitely known. Both of Katie is very known.
Everyone is very aware, and I was a target just the week before, so
yeah. So then, instead of a normal vote, we end up having a demerge, which means we are splitting into 2 different groups. Both groups will go to tribal council. On both groups, one person will win individual immunity, and one person will go home. This is very similar season 3 twist. It's been seen in regular Survivor. So I'll show you what the groups end up looking like. We get Sarah, Daniel, Katie. I should have grabbed your 2 idols. Kevin, and who else did you guys have? You guys had Drew?
Maggie?
Let me check. Kevin, Daniel, Sarah. No, it was Drew.
Oh, okay.
So that's one group, and then this is the other group. So both tribes end up doing their immunity challenge. I believe Maggie wins her individual immunity. So Maggie is the winner here. And then Drew is the winner here.
Yep.
Oh, interesting. This is going to be juicy. All these advantages flying around. This seems like.
Yeah. Why?
I love that you say flying around. They're literally all just on one side, though.
Yeah, but that's what could make it kind of crazy.
I know.
So here we have all of this advantage stuff happening, and here we have pretty much nothing, but we do have some relationships. We have Maggie, who's really close with Sam, Bree, who's really close with Cooper, and then Matthew, who's kind of in the middle of both of the groups, I would say. I think he's probably more, I don't know, because he was close with Cooper and Sam at that point, I think.
Yeah, he was close with both of those groups in terms of Sam and Cooper. I would say slightly closer to Bree and Cooper because Bree and him kind of like formed.
Yeah.
At some point during this, I had Sam, Bree, and Matthew Israel over at my apartment in person one night, and we all hung out. Like the amount of like socializing in person in between a lot of this stuff also kind of affected it. But
yeah. So we have these 2 groups. I wish I ordered it differently, but it's a little weird to move it right now. Here, I'll actually do it anyways. No, I won't. We're gonna leave it there. But the tribe on the right goes to tribal council first, and everyone knows this. And so everyone's still playing as if they're in merge. They're still talking about who they want to vote off, making sure like after this demerge and everything goes back to normal, that they're still in a good spot. On this side, I think people try to split. Do they try to split it? I think they just try to. Yeah. They try to split the vote because at this point, Matthew had just saved Maggie. Sam's close with Matthew. They're trying to keep Matthew, and they're also close with Bree because season 2. So they're trying to take out Cooper. But at this point, everyone knows Katie has 2 idols and knows that Katie is close with Cooper. So they're like, well, Katie might like give Cooper an idol, so we have to be careful.
Yeah.
So Maggie, Sam, and Bree come up with the plan to split the votes 2-2 on Matthew and Cooper, and then just kind of convince Cooper that they're voting Sam. So like the boys tell Cooper they're voting Sam. Matthew thinks everyone's voting Cooper, but these guys split it. So it's 2-2. These two are voting Matthew. These two are voting Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cooper is voting Sam. I think that's what it is. It's roughly that.
Does Katie give Cooper an idol?
Wait, it's actually this way. So this is what happens.
That someone flips or something?
Yeah. At this
I love that you're trying to guess before Nick just tells
Yeah,
you.
I'm trying to figure out what happens here. This seems like such a risky plan.
The votes. Right. So these guys are voting Cooper. These guys are voting Matthew. And Cooper is voting Sam. So at this point, Cooper is going home unless Katie saves him. But Katie says, nah, not my problem, not my monkeys, not my
Did Cooper ask? Did he ask?
I don't remember specifically. I'm sure it was like discussed, but I was just like, nah.
Yeah, a lot of people I think were trying to either get you to use
I think also people were trying to convince me that Matthew was going home instead of Cooper so I could save I didn't have to like play anything. Yeah.
I think that is what happened. I think they tried telling you that Matthew's going home.
Yeah.
But actually somehow Cooper does survive this vote. It ends up being 3 votes Matthew, 2 votes Cooper, and Matthew goes home here.
How?
What happens is, very last second, Bree's crush, I guess, really convinced her.
Really overpowers.
Like, it was just in her blood. She needed to save Cooper. So she tells Cooper last second. So last second that I think I messed up the votes originally when I read them because like I didn't see Cooper switch it last second. But yeah, so Cooper switches it literally last second and votes out Matthew. And so now Maggie and Sam are pissed at Bree because they're like, why did you why did you tell him? What the fuck was that? But we can't even get into that drama because we have this whole other tribal that's happening immediately after.
Mm-hmm.
And then at this tribal, we go into the dynamics, and I think people do find out about Daniel's idol in some capacity. I don't remember who knows what, but people know Daniel has an idol. So I think the easy vote is like Kevin here because Katie has an idol. Sarah's close with Daniel, so they're not voting each other. I think Sarah's also like kind of talking to Drew or whatever. So Kevin's the one on the out.
Yeah. And basically, so I was like, it was an understanding Daniel and Sarah didn't want to vote each other. I didn't want to vote Sarah. Even after last vote, I still wanted to keep Drew around and work with him.
Yeah.
I know at least I was pushing Kevin.
Yeah.
Because Kevin, I knew also Kevin was closer with Maggie and all of that situation too.
That is exactly what was happening. These 3 are pretty close, so the vote just easily seems to be on Kevin. However, Cooper stayed, and that wasn't part of the plan at all. No one thought Cooper was going to stay. And just to be clear, these 2 are voting Daniel. They're like, I think they're voting Daniel. Yeah, those 2 are voting Daniel. These 3 are voting Kevin. But Cooper stayed, and that wasn't part of the plan. And so Sarah and Katie are like just hanging out, drinking sangria. We're literally
with Maggie. With
Maggie there. This is a live tribal council. I am seeing everyone on Zoom or whatever. They're just drinking, having a good time.
Leading up to tribal, I was getting some mixed messages like minutes before votes had to be entered. And I kept showing Sarah my phone and Sarah would show me her phone. I was like, we're voting Kevin. Yes. Like, this is what we're doing. This is good. Like, they're voting Daniel, it sounds like, but like, he could like all good. Right. And it was like, yes, good. And I'm like, she's there in person. So what else is there to do? I don't know.
Yeah. But then all of a sudden, as tribal council is happening, I get like, I'm like asking questions and I see notifications on my screen. and the notifications are Sarah and Daniel swapping their votes to vote out Katie, who is voting with them
Wow.
currently.
They're gonna
And
blindside you with 2 idols?
So they're actively sitting there sending me votes. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? I'm seeing like Sarah kind of text in the background while Katie's like answering a question. Like they're all there. Like Katie and Sarah are actively sharing the same screen. Like it is all right in front of them. And so they do this, and then Daniel plays his idol. So these votes don't count against Daniel. Katie votes Kevin, and these two vote Katie. So Katie gets out here despite having 2 idols in her pocket.
And
wow.
I want to clarify too, Nick, because I don't remember if I understood the rules. Like, we had to say whether we were playing an idol before tribal started, right? Or no?
No, you were allowed to say it at tribal. You might have been confused on it, which is fair. I don't know. I don't remember your mind.
No, because there was a part once you said like an idol has been played, like, because you let us know if idols have been played before you start reading the votes. Once you said that, there was like the tiniest, like almost like about to come out of my mouth, like, I'm gonna play my idol, but I trusted Sarah. What can I say? I trusted Sarah.
And Sarah blindsided you.
And she got me.
Wait, so what happened between you and Sarah in this moment right then and there when you're in person? Did you start yelling at her?
So that happens. We shut the computer and
what did she say?
She goes, I am so sorry. You have 2 idols. Cooper. So this was the spiel that everyone eventually gave me because I was talking to Bree about it afterwards too. Cooper was not supposed to stay. I guess because Cooper and I were on 2 different tribes, it was like understood one of Cooper or Katie has to go this time. And because Cooper accidentally stayed and because Bree decided to save Cooper, and Bree knew this would happen if she saved Cooper, I was probably she like told Sarah or like helped kind of try to orchestrate that.
Wow.
To get me out and try to blindside me. Yeah. So, and in the moment we were drinking sangria with Maggie and Sarah on the front porch. It was a lovely summer day in Ann Arbor. And I was like, I mean, I was fine. Like, we still hung out the rest of the night, honestly. But you know, there was just a little bit of like,
you weren't like, fuck you. What the hell was that?
I was like, fuck you. But then I was also like good game. Like I understood. I knew I was a target and it's on me for having 2 advantages idols in my pocket and not playing it too, you know?
I'm going to say this. For being like so anti-Zwooper, Cooper's done a horrible job of really like successfully making anything happen for him in this game. Has he voted correctly once? I feel like he gets blindsided at every single vote.
He did. Well,
I
no,
guess
because
he just voted correctly, right?
He got John out successfully because of Maggie's idol.
It feels like he never knows what's going on, though.
He was definitely the last one to know when he got saved.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're at final 8.
Yep.
All the idols are gone, but Daniel has his extra vote still.
Yes. However, I do re-hide an idol. And the next person that finds it is Sarah. So Sarah gets an idol. Daniel has an extra vote.
All right. So who wins immunity now?
Yeah. The person that wins immunity is Drew again. So I just took it off of him. But I'll give it right back. Maggie no longer has immunity. And this is kind of where
Cooper's got to be like freaking out at this point. Katie's gone. Her idols are gone. They tried to take out Cooper. He has like no allies left. Like, what is he gonna
do? Cooper's allies literally all just left. Like, he was kind of close with Brittany. He was close with Matthew. Katie's gone now, and he's just like holding on to the dear hope of like Bree just saved him.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of
is he still sending all these like Michigan strong shit? You know, like.
Oh, I believe it. I think he probably at this point still is. Yeah, so this is kind of where the the alliances end up. We have Sarah and Daniel on their own over here. Bree is like kind of talking to people, but Sam, I think everyone's kind of just mad at Bree at this point. Bree literally just screwed up every single plan because she didn't want to take out Cooper. Cooper is on his own because he was supposed to be taken out, and then these four have gotten pretty close as well. So I think at this point, these guys decide to throw out Bree's name because they were obviously mad at her. And then Bree and Cooper are trying to get out some bigger targets. They still feel like maybe they can connect with Sam and Maggie. So they try to take out Daniel, which means these guys go over to this side and end up targeting Bree. And Bree goes home here in a 6-2 vote. And I think Cooper knows that Bree's going here, but what can he do? He has
nothing. He's just completely boned at this point.
Yes. So then we go to the next week. We're at final 7. We have 3 Zwoopers, 4 Survivor Michigan people.
Wow, I'm kind of rooting for the Zwoopers now. Like, you know, like
Yeah,
I'd like.
do you have a favorite? Which one are you rooting for most?
Daniel, it seems like he's played the best game. He's been in with Sarah. I feel like Drew, I don't get the sense Drew and Kevin have really been doing that much. But from the way, maybe that's incorrect, but the way you've been explaining it, it feels like Daniel's been playing the hardest of the Zwoopers.
I would say Daniel got himself in a nicer position earlier on so that he was able to just trust and work with Sarah throughout this time. But I do think Drew did a really good job of playing himself out of sticky situations.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to know Cooper's in a bad spot though. You'd love to see Cooper just suffer.
Yeah. And I think Katie's description is pretty spot on. Drew was probably the best socially connected Zwooper person because he was like meeting up with Brittany, who was close with Sarah. So he like kind of had a working relationship with Sarah. He obviously had a relationship with like Sam and Maggie, but he was like more all over the place. Like his social connections were spread out, whereas Daniel made a very close bond with Sarah and Kevin made a very close bond with Sam and Maggie. So his was like more surface level, but he had more, whereas these guys had closer bonds with the people they were with. And I think that's kind of where things shook out there. So we're at final 7. I think we have a superlatives challenge, which is just like voting like who's the favorite? Who can survive on an island? I don't remember. Okay. I don't remember most of it. But I do remember some of the biggest things that stood out was I think Cooper was voted as the hero.
What?
Wild.
What the hell?
I think Cooper was voted. I'm not 100% sure. This is, again, I was doing very quick research just like up today. But I think Cooper was voted the hero, and I think it's because he was constantly trying to keep Survivor Michigan strong, and so people just thought he would like be voted as the hero. So people just were like, "Oh, it was Cooper."
Yeah, like he wasn't really ever actively trying to backstab anyone like the rest of us were, kind of thing.
Gotcha. I can see it how in somehow his twisted game view is like loyalty to Survivor Michigan, you know, like
right, exactly.
Okay, he hasn't really tried to betray anybody. He's just getting betrayed constantly at every turn.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. So Cooper is voted hero, and then the other big thing is Sam and Kevin are voted as goats. They are voted as the people that would be dragged along to the end.
Does that feel like an accurate description at this time?
I did not see Sam as a goat at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I know at this point Sam was studying abroad, so he didn't have as many he was social, but like I don't know if he had as many in-depth conversations.
I can see it. I can see it feeling like a lot of his moves are being directed by Maggie, and like
I think that's kind of what it was. I think Maggie was the player, so they felt like Sam and Kevin were just kind of getting dragged along there. So those two are considered the GOATs, and I think that's a big thing. But this is where alliances end up. Kevin ends up winning immunity. So we'll give that to him. And I think the vote seems pretty straightforward. It seems like it's going to be these four voting one of these three, and these four decide to vote Sarah. However, during this time, Sam also starts thinking about the fact that he's a goat, and he tries to talk to Cooper about making a final three between him, Kevin, and Cooper. Because despite all the messy stuff with Cooper, he has kind of gotten blindsided a lot. So Sam's like, well, if I'm gonna win against anyone, it would be these three. And I think all of them kind of agreed, like, we're on the bottom, it seems, bottom in some sort of capacity. And so they're like, we're goats. You suck, Cooper. We're just gonna be create a final three. So they create a final three. And I think Sam tells Cooper what's going on. So Cooper ends up actually shedding the hero title, going over to this side, and talking to Sarah and Daniel about voting out Drew. Because at this point, again, Drew was talking to a lot of people, so he was socially well connected, and he's a Zwooper. So Cooper's like, I gotta get a Zwooper out.
It is literally like this season should have just been called Cooper versus Zwoopers. Like
Cooper versus Zwoopers.
Zwoopers. Like that's what it should have been.
Yeah, so that's what happens. And by doing this, Cooper is able to tell Sarah to use her idol. And so Sarah stands up, uses her idol, and takes all of their votes away. All three of them vote out Drew. And so Drew leaves in a 3-0 vote.
Wow, and there's only 2 Zwoopers left. Will he be successful? Can he get rid of them all? Does Cooper make a new group chat called Final Four that's just him, Sam, Sarah, and Maggie at this point?
Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked. I don't know if it happened.
Would not be shocked. Yeah.
So that happens. I think at this point, Kevin and Sam are mad at Cooper, but also are at the point where they're like, well, like, I think Cooper's still like, oh, well, I'm still final three with you. So they can't scream at him. Despite the fact that he like completely flipped the vote. They're like, well, we need your vote. Like, we can't, everyone knows these two are a duo. Cooper is now in the middle. And so they're like, well, we can't scream at Cooper, otherwise we'll tie. So they're like still out here talking about their final three existing.
What is Maggie doing at this point?
What does Maggie think's going to happen to her now? She seems like she's also kind of in trouble.
I think Maggie is like annoyed, but I don't know exactly if she's like going to try to get Cooper's votes. I think she is.
She's probably assuming that Sam and Kevin, though, would never turn on her.
Yes, yeah. I think that's where it's at. I think she's like, worst that happens is like a tie. Because I don't think
who wins immunity here.
Yeah, the person who wins immunity here is actually Cooper himself. So they can't even vote him out if they wanted to flip
But Daniel's extra vote could be a big factor in this final 6.
It could be. Especially because
good points, Ian.
Yeah. But it is like these three are together, they're not going to vote each other. These two are together, they're not going to vote each other. So it's like, what is Cooper going to do? Is he going to tie it or is he going to go with them? And Cooper, still telling them they're in a final 3, decides to go with Sarah and Daniel and say, hey, I'll vote with you. And I think they share the fact that Daniel has an extra vote. So now, despite it looking like it's 3-3, it ends up being 4-3. And these guys on the right target Sarah, because Sarah's the one who's made a few moves. She's used an idol. She blindsided Katie. Like, that is like Sarah's getting a lot of that claim. And these 3 instead vote out Maggie, and Maggie leaves in a 4-3 vote here.
Good on Daniel. Daniel's doing a good job here.
And that was with the extra vote, to be clear. So
yep.
So now we're at the final 5.
Yep.
Cooper's still in the middle.
Yeah, Cooper was on the outs before, and now he's in the middle of 2.
It is actually insane.
I actually don't understand how this happened.
So Cooper went from heading Michigan strong to being blindsided a million times to being right in the middle of 2 very clear duos.
Yeah.
So at this vote, Cooper wins immunity yet again.
Oh my god.
I know.
So
You're
there is
seeing the
no
annoyance like
trying
come
to
over my face all over again right now as I'm seeing this play out. I'm fucking annoyed.
Yeah, so there is no like trying to get all four of them to just like agree on Cooper. And so it becomes again a everyone fighting over Cooper's vote. And so these three have the final three with Cooper. I think these two are like, Cooper just voted with us a few times. Like maybe we can take him, like convince him that like the jury will be bitter against us or whatever. And in the end, these two vote out Kevin, these two vote out Sarah, and Cooper ends up voting out Sarah. So Sarah leaves here in a 3-2 vote.
Days since screwed by Cooper?
Zero, I guess. Back to zero.
Zero.
Maybe
Zero.
back to your question earlier, Ian, maybe this is where Sarah's like obsession becomes like an obsession. Because
Yeah, maybe
before it was
this is
just,
where
like,
it became more serious.
yeah, because I think
Yes.
before it was just like a ha ha, Cooper sucks, he's a snake. And now this is like, no, this is the second time Sarah
Yeah.
actively
And not
gets
only that,
screwed.
but Sarah's probably the front runner to win the whole thing, probably, I'm
Oh,
assuming.
and at this point,
Yes.
yeah,
At
the
this
jury
point,
is
yeah.
so
The
on
jury's
Sarah.
obsessed with Sarah. Like, yeah, I'm assuming that Sarah was the front runner at the
I
end.
mean, the jury, yeah. And then once Sarah got on, we were like, okay, very low chance Daniel even makes it. If Daniel makes it, sure. Like he's been with Sarah. They've been doing a lot of the same moves. Why not?
So final
Everyone's
four.
just kind of, I will say at this point on the jury's mind, like between me, Bree, and Maggie, who started out together, blindsiding all the boys, and then just blowing each other's games up, we were just really annoyed to see Sam and Cooper still out there. We were just so
I
annoyed.
can see that. You guys kind of botched that, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, think
Look,
about it.
the
Bree
final four is
chose,
all guys.
it is all guys. Bree chose to save Cooper, and by doing that, then got rid of me. And then she was the next vote because she flipped and saved Cooper.
Yeah.
So it's like, Bree, come on now.
So this was really all Bree's fault, basically.
Yeah, love was on her mind, and
But to my knowledge, her and Cooper nothing ever happened between them, right?
no.
No.
This is
So she
just all.
was
This
wholly
is just
worthless.
Bree's
What was
little
it?
headcanon of having a little crush on a cute white boy.
Yes.
Like,
Cute white boy? That's what we're going with for Cooper?
No, she in Bree's words, she has a thing for skinny white boys.
And I would also put out like nerdy
Skinny white boys.
Bree's instant type probably is. Maybe it's not her only type, but it is a type.
At least at this point in time, this was the type that she made known to people.
Okay, well, we can digest that at a different time. But
I don't know how well Bree's gonna like us like exposing her like this, but
Bree knows it's coming. I warned her. I said,
okay, good.
I wasn't during the game. I didn't know. I don't think I knew about the crush, and so she told me a few days ago, and I said, I'm using that. I was like, you told me it was your crush influenced you, and that has to be known. The viewers need the inside scoop.
I agree.
Yep.
I agree. It would be
100%.
disingenuous to the audience otherwise.
Yeah.
All right, so final four. I'm assuming Cooper fucking wins immunity again at this point.
You're not wrong. He really does. He wins three
shit.
immunities in a row, all three of the final immunities. So he wins at final 6, final 5, and final 4.
Holy shit.
But yeah, so Cooper out here winning another immunity, and he decides to stick with his final 3 and vote out Daniel. So it ends up being a 3-1 vote. I think it's because these two are considered GOATs, but it's also because Sam and Cooper, despite the fact that Cooper was like still voting out like Drew and Maggie, they like they had a working relationship the whole time. Despite being on opposite sides, they were constantly talking.
What were each one of these guys' like main pitch, and like how did the jury see them?
Okay.
Yeah, Katie, do you want to describe how? Maybe I'll go with the main pitches.
Go with the main pitches. I am not going to speak for the entire jury. All I can remember is how I personally felt.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So at this point, I think Cooper makes his speech first. This was just randomly decided. Cooper goes in and he's like, hey, I came into this game, I had a lot of relationships with people, and I really wanted to stick to those relationships. Early on, Brittany had told him something along the lines of like, hey, Cooper, you're probably going to go like mid-merge, like someone's probably going to like try to blindside you. So he got scared of that and was like, fine, I'll just like build my relationships with Survivor Michigan people. Or at least that was his pitch. So he's saying like, yeah, I just sat and played with Survivor Michigan people. And he literally said, I kind of relied on my pre-existing relationships until final 8. He was like, until final 8, I was working with pre-existing relationships and keeping all of my friends like just close with me. And then at final 8, he says that's when the game started for him, really. And he really decided to make some moves. And that is true. That's when he starts taking out Drew and Maggie, and he's like flipping back and forth. And then he's also like, and I won the last 3 immunities. So that's his pitch, is like, hey, I was really good socially and I was very in the know. And then near the end, I decided to like take people out. Like I taught people at the end. I think Kevin's pitch is a lot of like, hey, everyone else came in here with a ton of relationships. Kevin's like, I had to fight from the bottom, knowing pretty much no one, because the online people like barely knew each other. They like heard of each other, but like they didn't play with each other like Survivor Michigan people. So Kevin's like, I didn't come in here with relationships. And it speaks to the fact that I am the last Zwooper person here to have made it. He's like, I voted correctly a ton of times, like maybe not the last, like maybe not the Drew and Maggie vote, but beyond that, he was like voting correctly like half the time. But he was able to do everything Sam did, but from the bottom, essentially. And then Sam's pitch here is that like, unlike Cooper, Sam put in the work to make social relationships. This allowed him to have that alliance with Maggie, with Drew, and Kevin, that 4-person group that did end up controlling a couple of the votes or like getting him far. It's what allowed him to get rid of Bree, but he also wasn't like the biggest threat. He was still socially connected. And so those were like the pitches there. Cooper saying he pretty much controlled things. Sam saying he played a really good social game and had like a decent alliance and was able to make connections with online people, and Kevin saying, hey, I was able to do everything Sam did plus work from the bottom. And so those were the pitches. And I think the jury was very split. I don't think the jury had a very clear like, this is the person I want to win, because I don't think anyone was necessarily rooting for any of these 3 to particularly win. So Katie, do you want to describe like where your head was at or any conversations you remember having on the jury?
I don't remember specific conversations. I remember going on an initial rant at some point about Cooper's game, and him claiming the game didn't start till final 8 really bothered me, even though he was one of my closer allies, because I felt like he was using me and my initial very strong game of my social game and just taking advantage of that and then using it to coast until he absolutely needed to start playing because all of his allies were gone and because he was on the bottom. And sure, he won immunities and he made his way there, but he didn't start doing that until it was of absolute necessity for him. And I was personally annoyed by it because I felt I had done all of the grunt work that as his ally then allowed to propel him forward, and he didn't have to do anything. So some may say like, Katie, you were his ally, why didn't you just vote for him? But I didn't appreciate the fact that he didn't really start playing until the very end, and I appreciated Sam and Kevin's game more really working from the beginning. And I saw Sam as being part of a lot of the main votes and stuff and being a vocal person and building those relationships. So I ended up voting Sam.
I'll just move you there now.
Interesting. So what else happened here? Like how does this all end up shaking out?
So I think that
I'm assuming none of the Zwoopers would vote for Cooper.
Well, yeah, that's exactly.
I mean, yeah.
Is I think what Katie was saying was the biggest focal point of this final tribal. Is I think a lot of the jury recognized that Cooper did make moves. Like he was kind of in a good power position near the end, but like the Zooper people were pissed off. Like Cooper still never spoke one word to John because they literally never added each other. Cooper just completely erased them and like iced them out and refused to work with them, and then didn't really do much until final 8. So the Super people were like very much upset with Cooper, and so these guys were like, why would we vote for someone who like actively didn't play with us? Like he only played with half the cast and only played half the game. And like while it was good, they were mad. They were like, I'm not voting for someone who didn't even give me the common decency to have a conversation. So they're mad at Cooper. Cooper's insane villain story here.
Yeah.
But
This is
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say this is the villain Cooper narrative really comes in the jury chat. That's where it pans out.
It's really funny because if you remember, like during the superlatives, he was voted as the hero.
Yeah.
Because until then, he was just nice or whatever, but everyone iced him out, and then he blindsided all of his allies. So he tore that to shreds. But at the same time, the jury was kind of split. I think there were some people. I think let me look just to make sure I'm saying the right names of who was on whose side. But yeah, the jury was kind of split. There were some people who were on Cooper's side there because they thought he played well, and then the people who were like, oh, I don't really like that Cooper waited so long to really get into the game, were debating like who they should vote between Sam and Kevin, because Sam had pre-existing relationships, but he was also closer with some people. So like Maggie, I think, was probably very clearly going to be a Sam vote, or like very more lenient towards Sam than Kevin. I think the Zwooper people were leaning towards voting Kevin because they were closer to him. Or just like on the side of like Zwooper people got screwed over. And then I think a few of these guys were more on the Cooper train. And so it ends up looking like this. And I think Brittany ends up being a Sam supporter here. So it kind of ends up looking like this. But what happens is the Zwooper people hate Cooper so much that at some point they just stop fighting for Kevin. They say, you know what? The Survivor Michigan people are not going to vote for a random person. So instead, we will all vote for Sam to win. So while Survivor Michigan people are all arguing or whatever, trying to like sway each other, they're all like, no. Cooper's not winning. We're not even going to give him a shot. And so they all decide to vote for Sam to win. So in the end,
basically, not because they think Sam played the best game, but because they just do not want Cooper to win.
Yes, I think this happened much earlier than.
But they also have reason, like they all did work with Sam at one point or another too.
It wasn't necessarily like Sam doesn't deserve it. It was a very even debate between Sam and Kevin. So I don't know if it's like they were fully on board with Kevin versus Sam, but it was just a lot of like they were probably going to lean towards Kevin and then realized that Kevin wasn't going to get other votes. So they were like, we're just going to abandon shit. We're like, we're not even going to argue for Kevin because that will be too much work, but we can argue for Sam.
We can't risk Cooper winning in any scenario.
Exactly.
So it ends up being
poor Kevin.
Kevin gets 0 votes. Cooper gets 3. Sam wins with 6.
Yeah.
Wow. Cooper versus Zwoopers. What a game. What a game.
It really, after going through this, it really was Cooper versus Zwoopers.
Yeah. I
might
make that the title of the video. I feel like that's like a really funny Cooper versus Zwooper. That's hilarious. That
was the whole theme the entire time is Survivor Michigan strong. I even got like I think even Bree afterwards like sent me a confessional, was like, wow, that really sucks for Kevin because like he probably could have won, but like like people hated Cooper just that much. They were like, we refuse to let Cooper win this.
They're like, we cannot risk it. Like, it's not worth taking the chance that Cooper could win.
And yeah. I would just like it put on record now that, like, I can understand Cooper's approach. I can respect it just a tiny bit more than I did back then. But
I mean,
it
doesn't sound smart. It doesn't sound smart for most.
I mean, if you're playing a game and it's an online game, like, forget the fact that, like, if real Survivor, you can only talk to the people on your island, whatever. Like, you have the technology to talk to literally everyone in the game and just start building relationships. Why
wouldn't you?
Yeah. Why wouldn't you? That's what I'm saying. It's not good strategy. Like, it doesn't seem smart.
No. Cooper just wanted to play with his friends, and his friends said no.
Yeah, like, they didn't want to play with him. That's what's so funny about this. Like, it seems like nobody else was Michigan strong except for Cooper in this game. Like, nobody else cared at all.
And it also doesn't bite Cooper here alone. In a future game, I host online, just one with mostly online people, so I'm not going to get into it. But Cooper played, and Kevin and Cooper were both in the same game. And Kevin, who was barely even playing that game, went out of his way to tell everyone he's a villain and essentially vote him out again. So not only does it bite Cooper here, but in a future game with just random online people, Cooper gets screwed over because he's considered a snake, and everyone hates him for Survivor Michigan.
And even in a future game from there, it basically, if people know of Cooper James in the online game community, like, they know he is a villain. It has gotten to that point. It has gotten to that point that people just know that, and nobody, like, it's toned down a little bit. But if Kevin's ever in a game again, Kevin is out for blood against Cooper forever.
Because Kevin, I'm assuming Kevin, like, realized that, like, he lost basically because of Cooper.
Oh yeah, I think Kevin went into the final three, I think, thinking he might have a chance, and then very quickly realizing that it probably would end up just between Sam and Cooper, and that Cooper is going to, like, the anti-hate against Cooper is going to sway votes against Kevin as well. So
I love that this has torched Cooper in multiple future games. That is hilarious.
Cooper just wanted a fun online game, and it ruined his life. So
it's just not what
because I know that I'm sure he was pissed off when he lost those other games in the future. Like,
oh yeah, I definitely remember him getting voted out and being like, how the fuck did that one summer game that I did not like, I did not think would ever affect me anywhere, come to bite me in the ass.
Zooper versus Zwooper, and it seems like Zwooper got the last laugh multiple times. Multiple times.
Yep. Wow. And Cooper did not speak to me for a few days after this. Like, he was so hurt that I didn't vote for him. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. No, I think
that was Survivor Michigan 2.5
Yep.
I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was crazy.
I did enjoy it.
But I also going through this, I'm like, I think at the time I thought Cooper deserved to win, but I was sitting there behind my screen laughing really hard because Cooper was losing because he screwed over all the Michigan or the Zwoopers. I was sitting there like, Dad, because I was at this point someone who played a lot of online games, and I was like, these are my friends, and he'd like actively iced them out. So I was like, this is karma. This is so, like, I probably would have voted Cooper if I was on this jury, but also, like,
I feel like, honestly, like, hearing this, like, it's like Cooper, it sounds like he did play very, very well in the end game, but I don't know if, like, if you're icing out that many people, I just kind of think that is like, that's enough to tank you. It should be enough to tank
you. You literally said it halfway through this podcast. You were like, so Cooper hasn't had control in any of these votes at this point.
Cooper,
like, he didn't know what was happening.
And he kind of lucked into it. Like, it seems like Bree saved him, tanked her own game. Like, Bree tanks her game for Cooper, gets voted out immediately, and then Cooper's magically in a good spot, but not really of his own creation, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah. It's wild to see, though. I definitely forgot how many, like, blindsides and flips there were. I think another fun story about 2.5 is this was early on, like, before during all the unanimous votes of like people who didn't matter, there was an immunity challenge that was like figure out what episode and season the Survivor GIF is from.
Oh,
and I like made like 20 of them. And Matthew and Jack, both on separate tribes, just went through like and did it all pretty much all for their tribe. Like so these were obscure GIFs. They're not like things I just
Yeah,
grabbed
but
from the internet.
Matthew and
Like,
Jack
I
have watched a
made them.
lot of Survivor, like a lot of Survivor.
It would literally like someone would be like, it would be like there was one that was like a bug or like someone throwing like a disc or something, and they'd be like, oh, I know it's roughly one of these seasons. Let me go like watch it real quick and see if I can find it. And so they found all of them to the point where I had them have to do a live tiebreaker because I gave them like 15, and then they're like, they all got them right. So then I gave them like 5 more, and then they got them all right. And I was like, what the fuck is this? So I gave them a live tiebreaker because I was like, I don't know how else to like break this. But it was insane. Their Survivor knowledge is unmatched.
It was crazy. And Nick, just curious, when Maggie and I found the idols, because we found both of those pretty early on too, was there anyone else even close to finding them at that point? Do you remember?
I think so. Yes, because actually Maggie also in the like hunt for the idols, she found a fake idol, which was just would allow me to like give someone like a screenshot and be like, oh, you found the idol if she wanted to use it.
Nice.
And so she found her idol and then immediately placed the fake idol where it was. And then Kevin actually ended up getting the fake idol. But I think he eventually figured out it was fake because word got out that Maggie's was real. But he ended up figuring out it was fake, which is weird because there's usually no fake idols in online games. But yeah. So
That would have been fun if that came into play somehow.
no.
But yeah. Cool. Cool.
Yeah, that was fun. Thanks for taking us through this, guys. It was a great season of Survivor Michigan, and maybe one day we'll get into some more 0.5s. But for now, see you next time. All right, that's how I'll end it.